Yeehaw! We are riding a satellite. And we are really moving too. We're gonna be around the Earth in no time. Hey, wait. Is it us that are moving? Or is it the Earth spinning 1,000 miles per hour below us? Looks like everybody turned their porch light on for this too. Ah, lightning. Hey, where's all the other satellites? Oh yeah, satellites don't exist. And none of those clouds are moving down there. Huh. This video's not about satellites, it's about super colliders. Just when you were getting into that song. Or maybe not. Howdy folks. This video is addressing super colliders. The International Linear Collider in particular, but we'll talk about a few others as well. But the International Linear Collider is set to be the longest linear collider, replacing the pictured one here, the SLAC, the Stanford Linear Collider, which is 2 miles long, and also known as the straightest thing on Earth. But this new super collider, the International Linear Collider, will be built in Japan, and they're going to build this one to the curvature of the Earth. 10 times the size of the SLAC, but they're going to veer from the straightest thing on Earth to having a curved delivery system. So this doesn't make sense. They've never had any other collider built to the curvature of the Earth. So I looked for the designs, and I wanted to see what it would look like and all that stuff. And you can find little bits and pieces here and there. Mostly what you find is just news releases, a few paragraphs here and there. And this story, what it's all about is just to keep the spinning ball lie going. That's its sole purpose. They have no plans at all to build this thing to the curvature of the Earth. For one thing, there isn't a curvature of the Earth. But it doesn't make sense. I'm sure there's physicists scratching their heads, you know, when they heard this, going, what are they thinking? And you know, there's even an article that says that all of them in the future will be built this way. But they're just trying to keep you clinging to that spinning ball. And it's BS, and so is the story, and I'll show you that. But first, let's hear Michia Cuckoo talking about the ILC.
Isn't it possible that some little thing, some little collision will have some really big effect, some big creative effect?
Well, I think with nuclear energy, there is definitely that possibility because you have 100 tons of nuclear waste stored in one small compartment. However, there is talk about the next generation beyond the Large Hadron Collider. The Japanese government wants to stimulate its moribund economy. It has $10 billion to throw around, and they want to back the ILC, the International Linear Collider. And
Uh-huh.
that's picking up a lot of steam now because the Japanese government is pushing it. It's a prestige project, generate a lot of prestige for Japan, stimulate the economy because it is pork barrel, and it's to create the next generation of particles beyond the Large Hadron Collider,
How big?
specifically dark matter.
Mm-hmm. How big?
Well, it's going to be miles long. We have a linear collider outside San Francisco at Stanford. It's 2 miles long, and this is going to be many multiples of that. So it's going to be miles and miles long, a linear collider that slams electrons into anti-electrons, and we hope to find, particles beyond the Higgs. That is,
Okay, so for people who are not collider familiar, most of us, what's the deal? The bigger the collider, miles and miles and miles and miles long, the faster the acceleration, the bigger the collision. What's the deal?
yeah, that's exactly right. You got it. The bigger they are, the faster they go, the more energy you get in the collision, and then you're going backwards in time. It's a time machine because you're recreating matter that didn't exist since 13.7 billion years, since the beginning of the universe. That was the Big Bang. So we're recreating on a tiny, tiny microscopic scale matter that didn't exist for 13.7 billion years, since the beginning of the universe. So what we want to do is to figure out, why the universe banged. What set off the universe? What was the match that set off the Big Bang?
Well,
And
that's really meeting up with God, isn't it? When we think about it.
well, that's why they call it the God particle.
There. Now we've heard from Michio Kaku, a media expert on, well, pretty much anything they need him to be an expert on. Today it was physics and the Big Bang, which I never bought in the first place. But before getting into the International Collider, back to the Stanford Collider, which made me think of a few questions looking into that. So let's check this out real quick. Alright, and here we are, Stanford Linear Accelerator, the SLAC. And you can see it's California, so eventually they had to build a highway over the top of this thing. But that is a good marker for us. This is Highway 280, or Interstate 280. And you can see from the picture, the end of the collider goes into the foothills. So that's where the foothills are starting. And we can back out a little further and see pretty much it's level with the bottom of the bay here. So let's see where the San Andreas Fault is. Here's the bottom of the bay, and here's 280. So the linear collider is right here, and here's the San Andreas Fault. So a few questions come to mind. If you're going to build the straightest thing on Earth, and you want it to stay the straightest thing on Earth, would you build it right up against the San Andreas Fault? I would not do that. Another question that comes to mind is, if you know the Big Bang is a bunch of hogwash, what are they actually doing? I mean, they're not looking for the God particle. I don't know. So I never knew that there was a super collider built on the San Andreas Fault until I started looking into super colliders this time. I've looked into them over the years, trying to see what CERN was up to. Still don't know. Especially with all their symbolism. One thing I do know is the Big Bang is hogwash. That's another lie that's going to fall with the spinning ball. But I guess it was born about the same time as me. And yeah, I never gave it much thought because it didn't make sense. It doesn't have a creator involved. So same with evolution. We just evolved from bacteria? Really? No. So a bunch of these lies will fall when the spinning ball falls. But let's move on and look at the International Linear Collider. Alright, looking into this, you'll find a lot of documents, well, not a lot of them, a few, from meetings and conferences that they've had. This is the study of an ILC main line act that follows the Earth curvature. I won't read much into it or much about it, but I will scroll along and you can pause and read it if you like. But there's a bunch of high-tech mumbo jumbo. This article I'm including just because it has probably the most information or diagrams and stuff like that, but none of those seem to make much sense to me. But yet again, I am not a physicist or any kind of expert, just trying to make sense of this stuff. And yeah, so I won't include too many more of these. This is the best one you'll find. You won't find a lot of information in any of them, is what I'm trying to get at. But alright, let's check out the next item. And we have Tunnel Talk, Direct by Design, from 10 December 2014, and they're talking about a future collider here. I think 2035 is when they're expecting, so this is a ways off. But it is a much larger circular collider, 100 kilometers compared to the LHC, which is 27. And pretty interesting article, so just kind of cruise along here slow if you want to pause it and read. But down here, right here, they do start talking about the curvature of the Earth again. And so, to make matters more complex from a visualization and planning perspective, the curvature of the Earth has to be taken into consideration in any future design path. This means it flattens satellite imagery. Satellites. Anyways, I'll let you keep reading if you'd like. Whoops. There. Moving on. Alright, and here we have Newsline, the newsletter of the Linear Collider community. And after a decade of news releases and stories that included the curvature of the Earth story, this one does not include it, and this is 2013. So as they get closer to the actual building of the collider, no mention of it. But I did find a comment down here at the bottom interesting. Kind of reminded me of the SLAC being built next to the San Andreas. Is there anything to earthquakes? Who knows? Moving on. And real quickly here's that article talking about how the moon can affect the colliders. And you can read it if you like. I just find it interesting that even a high-speed train that passes by can cause changes, so in their beams, among other things. The level of the water in Lake Geneva. Who knows what to believe anymore with these guys, but just showing that, you know, even these little tiny things can cause them to have to tweak things. Just making the curvature design that much more ridiculous. Keep it laser straight makes more sense, doesn't it? Anyway, moving on. Alright, here we are at Fermilab, U.S. Department of Energy. And there are other examples of news releases and stories where they're talking about the curvature of the Earth, But really, we can just end it right here, because down here we have modifications in the simulations code liar. Is that just a coincidence? I doubt it. This is their little way of saying, dude, don't worry, we're not really doing it. It's gonna be laser straight, don't worry, but we have to say this to keep the spinning ball going. But I'll let you read this. Baseline design for the ILC calls for the main line act to follow the curvature of the Earth rather than being laser straight. Simulation code liar did not have the capability to simulate the curved line act system. Blah blah blah. But I think this is a giveaway, folks. So, moving on. No, actually we won't be moving on. I'm just realizing we're at past 15 minutes, so I'll end it here, and yeah, I got more stuff for another video, plus more stuff to look into. But really what I want to do is just expose the fake story, the supporting lie for the spinning ball, and I'll be on the lookout for more of these and keep exposing them. Because that's another way to get people to realize, or to at least take a look at the flat Earth. You know, they see something that relates to them, like maybe a physicist out there that's had to go along to get along all this time, but knew deep inside everything was bogus. Hey, take this ball and run with it, man. Let's get some truth back into the science community. If that's possible. Anyways, thanks for tuning in, and cheers.